The No Research About Us Without Us project started in 2023 and ran for 18 months.
The research brought together academics, self-advocates, community groups, NHS staff, accessible information experts, patient advisors and charities.
We know as lots of projects has looked at how to include people with a learning disability in research, sometimes as a team members, sometimes as research advisors.
We designed this project together, meeting online and having accessible agendas and minutes to support everyone to take part.
We costed for each team member with a learning disability to also have paid support to ensure they were supported to be part of the meetings and the project work.
We costed for Gary and Amy to jointly lead the project, but to get it right, we spent loads more time on it than we had asked for.
First, we worked out how to meet and how to communicate. We struggled to find an accessible online space we could all use to share documents and conversations without sending loads of emails, because loads of emails can be overwhelming.
We worked out that we needed 3 different types of meeting each month. In the first meeting, Amy and I planned what we wanted to do. In the second, I met with Vicky and Jodie. We checked the plan and shared ideas. In the third, the whole team came together to meet online.
We learned that communication is something we can always improve upon. We learned that effective communication takes time and often involves thinking differently. We now know that we should have allowed more time to do this properly and for all parts of the project.
We learned that trust is a really important part of a project involving lots of different people, each coming from different places and with unique experiences. We built that trust through friendly, accessible meetings and taking the time to get to know people outside of formal environments. This is hugely important for people with learning disabilities working on the project.
One thing we realised early on was that we assumed we knew each other's context, but we didn't. We ran a showcase where each person talked about their work or experience relevant to the project. We all took turns. This helped us learn about where each person was coming from and value the work they'd already done in this area.
Words are a way to include or exclude people. We use them without thinking sometimes, and they can cut people out if they don't understand. Jargon and inaccessible documents sends a message to say, we only care that the academics can understand this message.
We used accessible formats at every stage of the project, thinking about how communication happens and on what platforms, creating visual resources where possible. For example, when we wanted to discuss a systematic review, we created an easy-read version of it so we could all discuss it.
Our team members were from across the UK, so we met online. We built relationships by using creative methods to check in on our moods as we began meetings and valuing hearing about people's everyday lives. Meeting online was better for the environment and quicker, but we were slow to build relationships and trust. After meeting face-to-face, we realized how important it was to invest in relationships within the research team to support joint decision-making and co-leadership.
Before every meeting, Amy and Gary set the agenda and check progress. Then we make the agenda into a presentation and make it more accessible, and then ask for updates from the team. Once we have the agenda finalised, Gary meets with the other team members with a learning disability and talks through the agenda, so they can feel prepared for the meeting and think about what they want to say. This takes 3 weeks, so after each meeting, we start work on the next one.
As a team, we all fill in an evaluation survey every month, and we have met twice to use creative arts-based methods to express how the research is going and how included we feel. We also met face-to-face 3 times in the project. We wish now we'd plan more in-person meetings, as they were good for getting to know each other.
Many of the principles that apply to our work are universal across other community-engaged research. Current funding structures and compensation methods often do not account for the extra time and resources needed to ensure inclusivity. Ways of costing projects often vary widely across different sectors and rely on all partners understanding what they will contribute throughout a research project before it has even begun.
Inclusion work is often expensive, and this can mean that costs are queried by funders. Yet other research costs can be waved through without question. This tells us something about what funders understand as important to research. We would like to see a world where the full costs of inclusion are factored into projects and see this as an essential part of enabling genuine inclusion.
Research needs to change to become an inclusive space for public partnerships. This will require changes in costing, pace, and the value placed on diverse perspectives.
We broke into working groups. Blue Whale Group explored best practice in inclusive research, and they produced top tips videos, an easy read guide to the questions you need to ask in a research project to be inclusive. And they shared the best guides on inclusive co-production that they'd come across in their work. Red Chili Group mapped the barriers people with learning disabilities face when they take part in research. This can be as participants, advisors, or as researchers. Those barriers then fed into the work of Orange Group, who rewrote a trial to show how it could be more inclusive, and they published what they learned to help other people designing trials be more inclusive. Green Leaf Group tested different ways to evaluate our project and how inclusive we were. We shared our findings in an article about testing out different evaluation methods. If we don't try to change things, we're accepting how things are and perpetuating the current inequalities in the system. And those inequalities are costing people their lives.
The team sees a future where research is truly inclusive, where people with learning disabilities are respected, properly funded, and fully involved in the research process.